You're
Good
all
morning,
set.
Thank you, Lauren. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our first in our summer series of Talk Tuesdays. I am so pleased this morning to introduce our new partner and team member for attendance with CERC, Christine Keelwind, who is a consultant at CERC, will be joining us as support for attendance and engagement with districts and other work that we're doing. And as I'm doing this, I introduce Jay Brown, who is also part of our team, and Lauren Johns, and just welcome, Christine. We're so excited to have you. Steve Profit will still continue on our team, but he is on vacation and we miss him, but we're happy for him. So next slide, please. We asked if everyone can please share in the chat your name. I'm not supposed to do this slide. Christine's supposed to do
That's okay, Kari.
Yeah,
No,
I'm going to turn it over to Christine. Go for
you
it.
did a fabulous job with it. Thank you so much. And thank you all. I'm very excited to be here and to be part of this very important work that we're doing. It is something near and dear to my heart as well. So we are here to support you throughout this learning process. But we want to know who you are and where you come from. So in the chat, if you can, just put your name, your role, district or school, and then also your email address. And we will be saving this information so we can contact you, or even if you need to contact us, we have all the information there. But we thank you for joining us today. We have a lot of learning to do, and we hope to make it engaging. The only thing too is if you ever need to communicate with us, the chat box is a great way to interact. And there is within the chat, if you just need to communicate with the host or one of us, there is a way to direct message us as well, in case sometimes you have technical difficulties or whatnot. But we look forward to today. And if you can share that information in the chat as we move along, that would be greatly appreciated. And Kari, I will turn it right over to you.
Thank you, Christine. So today's agenda, I'll just go over this briefly. I'm going to do the usual what's new at CSDE and our partners. We haven't met in a while, so there's quite a bit. So that might take a minute or two. Then I'm going to go over a little bit about resources to help you support your school attendance teams, because we know they're foundational to improving attendance. That will be only about 10 or 15 minutes. And then the stars of our show are school attendance teams in action with Norwich Public Schools, Sarah Dusso, Equity Director, and John Turbin, Attendance and Family Engagement Supervisor. And then we'll talk about upcoming attendance and engagement meetings. But the reason we call this Talk Tuesday is because it's open for everyone for discussion. So at any time you might have some questions, or you want to share a success or a concern that you might have in your district, please just go to the reactions button and raise your hand. And we will be happy to call on you to ask your question or contribute to the conversation. So with that, I'm going to continue on to the next slide. What's new at CSDE? We have 2 slides today. We usually only have 1. So sad news at the top, we have an announcement regarding staff departures effective July 22nd. Our Deputy Commissioner Desi Nesmith and our Division Director Lisa Lamenzo will be resigning from their roles at CSDE to rejoin the Bloomfield Public School Systems. We are so happy for them, but we're sad for the CSDE, and we will miss them and thank them for all of their hard work while they've been here. I just want to share the African American, Black, and Puerto Rican Latino Studies curriculum update. This is important because we know if we don't have an important and focused and relevant curriculum, students won't come to school. And so it may seem funny to highlight this on an attendance meeting, but curriculum and what's happening in the classroom is very important to attendance. We've also released 6-8 model science curricula. Very excited for our partners, Gladys Labus and Megan Alavicki Flick, for releasing 17 ways CSDE is supporting multilingual learners. And if you are a district, which all of our districts have multilingual learners, multilingual families, this is a great resource to take a look at, to get some ideas about how you can support your families and students who are multilingual or multicultural in your district. Teacher of the Year application is open August 1st. There's an ESSER cheat sheet if you are in the weeds with the money and the budgets, that might be helpful for you. End of the year message from the superintendents from Commissioner Charlene Russell Tucker. This is for superintendents, but it's for all of you. I know the commissioner on behalf of CSDE appreciates everyone's work in supporting families and students in their learning and success. Just keep going. We awarded 8.7 million ARP ESSER funding for after-school programs through expansion enhancement grants. After-school programs can be a really successful strategy for getting kids to come to school. They may not want to come and sit in the classroom. They may be really excited about what's happening after school for enrichment or sports or other activities that they're interested in. We launched the Science of Reading Masterclass. The Commissioner Russell Tucker testified before the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee in Washington, D.C. Regarding the federal bill on restricting guns, which passed, and we were very excited and proud of her to do that. There's the Summer Math Challenge, which our home visitors can encourage students to participate. There's a new Connecticut Comprehensive School Counseling Framework online modules. Many of our school counselors are involved in attendance works, and so this might be really helpful for those of you who work with school counselors. Next slide, please. If there's any questions, please let me know. This is a lot because we haven't met since the end of May. So I just wanted, this all comes from the Superintendent's Digest. You see the link is there, and there's also the QR code if you're so excited you want to go there right now. But the Superintendent's Digest can be linked from the homepage, the CSDE homepage, but I put the link in the slides and we'll share those with you later. There's a summary of education-related legislation enacted in the last session, which goes out every year. There's a lot of new legislation that impacts schools related to mental health and wellness as well. Summer enrichment grantees were announced back in June. A lot of the programs filled up quickly, but if you have students who are looking for, or families looking for summer programs still, check this link out and you'll be taken to a list of all the programs. Advancing women and girls in STEAM. And let me see, I'm going to wrap this up. Updated school accommodations workshop. This all has to, this was kind of technical and well, and very legal. It was written by our legal director, Mike McKeon, and it has to do with student transportation. And that's why I included it here, because transportation is a serious barrier to getting to school. And so that covers all the laws around transportation and walking and when students should be asked to walk to school. Expanding access to advanced course and programs, insights from Connecticut districts. And then there's a showcase of course of studies for African American, Black, and Puerto Rican Latino curriculum. And finally, this is a really great presentation. The CAS CIAC Student Equity Advisory Board end of year presentation is a video of students doing their presentation on equity to, I think they did it to the State Board of Education. So that's what's new on the Superintendent's Digest. I share this with you, but encourage you to check it regularly because things are posted, like events that might come up and be and occur before the next Talk Tuesday. So you should set a bookmark maybe on your whatever browser you use to check out the Superintendent's Digest. So next slide, please. Unless there's any questions. So we're going to talk a little bit about school attendance teams, and hold on 1 second. I think we should launch our poll. School attendance teams there's two levels. There's school attendance teams and there's district attendance teams. So I'm going to take a big leap of faith that if your district participates in Talk Tuesday, it is most likely certain that your district or schools are required by law to have an attendance review team, both at the district and the school level. This is the small print. The nitty gritty of it all, and it's complicated, but I would say you can be certain that if your district has chronic absence of 10% or higher, which used to be, we had districts that were under that and near to that, or 15% or higher in a school, you are required to have a school or district attendance team. And they are required by law to meet at least monthly. We encourage districts to have them bi-weekly. And we just wanted to take a quick poll to get a sort of a flavor of who's participating on school attendance teams and at what level. So Christine or Lauren is going to
I will launch the poll right
launch the
now.
poll.
All right, and you should see it in front of you. And there are 4 options that you can choose. And I said school, but you
Yeah.
might be on a district as well. So just keep that in mind, and you could just select what you would like to choose. Oh, great. Thank you so much. They're coming in very
Thank you for the
quickly.
response. Yeah,
This is great.
this is great. We're at 56 participation.
Great.
For the purposes of today, I'm going to really focus on the school attendance teams. We get the Talk Tuesdays, really the audience is focused at a broader group, more school level than our community of practice, which is more district level. So we're going to focus more on attendance teams in schools, and then we're going to hear from Norwich talk about theirs. So if you haven't, we have 100% answered.
Okay, so here we go. We are going to end the poll right now. If you had any difficulty with the Zoom poll and you would just like to have your choice recorded, you could even just send it in the direct message in the Zoom chat to me, and we could even include that. But it looks like most everybody has answered. And I'm going to share the results just so everybody could see those results. Okay.
So this is not surprising. Do you think this is surprising, Christine? I don't think
Not
this
at
is
all.
surprising. 69% are currently members of their school, or we'll say district attendance team. I would say, and about 10% are sometimes a member, which makes sense because attendance teams might have people rotate in and out depending on the topic. One person would like to be a member of their school attendance team. So I would encourage you to find out who's the leader of that team and see if you could be on it. And if you're not a member of the school attendance team and you are working in the area of attendance or family engagement, then you probably want to look into seeing if you to see if you can join that team. But thank you. So this is helpful. So many of you have experience with the teams, and that's helpful as we go forward. And I just sort of share some resources, and then Norwich talks about their work. Okay, so we can share results, or we're going to close it out.
Yep.
Okay. And then I'm going to share my screen.
Okay, and so I'm going to stop sharing right now.
Okay.
Right.
And instead of creating a bunch of slides like I usually do, I wanted to just go online and kind of surf with you for a little bit. And I have it up. Let's see if I can find it. One reminder, launch meeting, iPhone. It's not letting me share video. I'm not as familiar with Zoom. I'm trying to share. Oh, here it is. Go to 2. Nope. I don't see it. Let me just make sure it's up. Oh, I see what happened. Okay. I'm getting there, guys.
It's okay.
I'm there. Hold on. Here it is. Okay. So let me know when you can see it. Just give me a hand raise.
Okay.
Yay, thank you, Sarah. Okay. I started at the chronic absence webpage, but I want to show you how to get there, because I know everybody loves the CSDE website and they find it so convenient and easy to navigate. Just kidding. So if you start at, let me go back. You have to kind of search. You have to learn to search in the SDE website. So let me go to the first page. This is the first page of the Department of Education webpage. And so here, I just want to point out is the Superintendent's Digest. Do you see that there? So when you're looking for what's been posted, what's new at SDE, and as we enter a new year, it will be updated a lot. So to get to chronic absence, there's a couple of different ways. You can enter attendance into the search. And this is what comes up. Oh, well, if I typed it right, it might work. Good thing it's summertime. Okay. Attendance.
Sorry, while you're doing that, just something to mention. You'll notice there's two search bars. There's one at the very top of the screen, and there's one that Kari is typing into. If you type it only in the one where Kari is typing, you'll get only results from the Department of Ed, which is what you want. If you type in the one at the top, it's going to give you results for all of the Connecticut agencies, which you don't want. So just an FYI.
You'll get results that won't have any meaning. And so when you type in attendance, you can see we have a page on attendance awareness campaign, a page on student attendance reporting, LEAP. There is a Talk Tuesday page as well that has all of our past recordings and presentations that you can get to. But what I'm going to go to today is the chronic absence webpage. And if you are really familiar with this, I apologize. Over the summer series, we're getting back to basics. Steve and I called it boot camp. Like, we're going to get to basics for new people so you can help your new folks come on board for the new year and be able to find things. So on the chronic absence webpage, there's a link to the Superintendent's Digest. There's a link to something called Peer Learning Opportunities, which helps you to sign up for our listservs. There's two. There's a Talk Tuesday listserv, and there's a attendance engagement lead for each state, or for each district can sign up. So we have like a Talk Tuesday one just for Talk Tuesday folks, and attendance leads for every district. You'll find the new mental health and wellness guidance there. The reducing chronic absence in Connecticut schools is something we're going to go through in a minute. There's the Talk Tuesday link, which is a meeting archive. And then all the monthly tracking information, like how to track daily attendance on remote days, how to get to the EdSite portal, the PSIS guidance. We're collecting truancy at a student level this year. And so that information is in PSIS guidance. Update on mental health and wellness, and then the attendance awareness campaign. But what I want to show you is a tried and true resource that we developed with Attendance Works a number of years ago now, in 2017. It's electronic. It's so you can share this link with new folks who are on attendance teams to help bring them up to a baseline of learning around student attendance and engagement. It starts with what is chronic absence? And then why are students chronically absent, and why is it important? How do we know if chronic absence is affecting learning in our district? What can a district do to improve attendance? What can schools do to improve attendance? And who else can be involved in reducing chronic absence? This was written in 2017 with Hetty Chang. So it's a little dated, but I'll tell you, I've been through it, and it's still really good information. We could add new information, that's for sure, and we will. But for now, I'm going to go to what schools can do to improve attendance. And for the first time, I get this, I'm one of the one of the people at the State Department, I guess a webmaster, web whatever. I update our webpage and I get this listing of the 100 top pages. This was listed as one of the 100 top pages at SDE. Never before are we. It's usually things around certification and school lunch. Truancy once in a while is up there, but so this is something that's really timely. So what can schools do to improve attendance? And it talks about the legislation called it attendance review teams. We call them attendance teams, and you may call them anything you want as long as they're doing the functions of an attendance review team, right? So their charge is to ensure that school adopts a comprehensive, actionable, tiered approach to improving attendance. There's this guidance from Attendance Works, how to organize a school attendance review team, they have a fantastic school self-assessment. They have a district team assessment and a school team assessment. And what it is it's just a grid, and everybody takes it individually, and then you collapse them all together and you come up with where you are in some very important areas of work around chronic absence. How to develop a standard meeting agenda. This is just a little article about 3 and 4-year-olds that was written by Office of Early Childhood. How to use team time wisely. Many school teams, this is a pet peeve, spend their time looking at tier 3 students and forget about this. And then it says here, this can be frustrating and time consuming. I see heads nodding, right? But that's not just the role of a school attendance team. You need to have good tier 1 practices and good tier 2 strategies like LEAP or mentoring that are research-based and not too costly, or even just threshold greetings and things to make kids feel a part of the community. You have to have that tiered system of supports in place in order to address attendance. If you spend all your time on tier 3 students, you're going to get more tier 3 students, right? And if you have high chronic absence in your district, which I'm going to talk, in the scheme of things, given the context of what we are, the end of a pandemic, we all have high chronic absence, every district. But if yours is extremely high, if you look at districts like yours and it's extremely high, it means you don't have good tier 1 or tier 2 practices in place. And you need to look at that. And I don't want to take too much time, but this goes through how to look at your data, how to organize a school-wide attendance strategy, mapping your attendance data, how to engage them. This is like a primer for anyone new in your district. I think every school attendance team probably should take a look at this and make sure, take the school assessment from Attendance Works. And then it has how to implement a system of tiered systems of support. And it has suggestions for each of the tiers that are still really good today. And then, so I just wanted to share that with you all. I'll put the link in the chat, and then I have a few minutes for questions if anybody has any questions. No questions. Well, I see there's comments in the chat. Hold on, I haven't been monitoring it. Christine, do you see anything?
So, yeah, so right now it's just people introducing themselves, what schools they're at, but nothing of questions or comments pertaining to right now.
Okay, perfect. So at this point, that concludes my presentation around resources around school attendance teams. It's a little bit of a foundational description. Okay, I'll turn it back to you, Christine.
Fantastic. Okay. And actually, we're going to move forward. Are we moving forward into our Norwich teams right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. So I'm going to actually turn it over to Sarah Dusso and John Turbin, who are with Norwich Public Schools. I will let them introduce themselves and their roles, but they're really looking forward to share some of the great work that they're doing in their district. And they'll be open to also questions and comments from you guys as well. So Sarah and John, and if you have anything to share, I can make you co-host as well, if that helps.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Dusso, and I'm the Equity Director for Norwich Public Schools. I am here with John Turbin, our Attendance and Family Engagement Supervisor. We also are joined by Stefan Marvin, who is our data expert, who does all of this hidden work behind the scenes for us a lot quicker than we could. And we also have Cynthia Beauregard with us today. She is one of our family and support specialists who is on the ground level doing this work. So we wanted you to be able to hear from all 3 levels of the work today. So at the district level, we have been doing attendance review teams or attendance data teams since 2014. I think that was about the time they were first mandated for districts like ours who do have a higher rate of absenteeism. At that time, we did go through a lot of the attendance work forms, a lot of the forms provided on the CSDE, and we did create a series of resources out of those forms so that all school-based data teams would have agendas, would have talking points, would have information on how to look at data. However, COVID-19 did bring us, just like everybody else, some challenges. And when we return to this post-pandemic world, we recognize the importance of really doing some tiered data dives. So we've continued to look at our data at the district level. We look at that bi-weekly. And our data master, Stefan, sends that out to all buildings so that all buildings can see how all buildings are doing with the data. This is really important step at the district level as part of the district data team before it goes to the school data team, because humans are naturally competitive. And when we as a district look at our individual schools, everyone wants to do a little better than the other school. So that kind of keeps us on our toes. Stefan also was able to take our data and compare it to multiple other measures across the district so that building data teams and building attendance teams could see how their attendance is impacting their academic data, it's impacting their climate data, is impacting everything, so that they can really see what he's created is called the equity dashboard. So you can see all these data points. This year, we really knew that we needed to go back to looking at tiered attendance work. So we had hired 2 SRBI coaches, and they did a lot of work this year aligning our SRBI practices for behavior and academics to our attendance practices as well, so that each team was working with a series of procedures that they were familiar with in other types of data teams. This really helped because it gave us a lot of both quantitative and qualitative data. Another thing that I do want to mention before I hand it over to John, who's going to tell you all about the school-based work, is that we also invested a lot of time in doing work around street data this year and really looking at not only what the numbers tell us, but what the community is telling us. So John's going to tell you a little bit about what the numbers tell us. And then Cindy, who is our on the ground person, is going to tell you a little bit about how we use that qualitative data, that family report out data, to then help students access their learning daily and remove any barriers. So I'm going to turn it over to John for a little bit of the on the ground data team level.
Hey, everyone. So as a little bit of a background, when May and June started rolling around, right, we kind of ran out of time, right, to look at every single tier 2, tier 3, child. And we really started to look at in our attendance meeting, okay, let's start looking at 2022, 2023. So I'm really happy to present this because this was our most recent data meetings, and that we were able to take things from different schools and kind of push it all together into one idea kind of going forward, where we're kind of picking from the 9 different schools that we have that have, kindergarten and up, and it's kind of picking and choosing almost like a menu almost. And you're going to hear a lot of, facts from me, and I will be very honest with some of my opinions on here and kind of why some of these things kind of came up with our attendance procedures, because there are certain things that I love and certain things that I'm not as crazy about with meetings. And we'll get into that in a second. But I think it's very important for us, since it is July, to kind of think about what is a framework that we can use now, right? Because it's July, all the teachers are either at summer school or they're taking a much needed vacation, right? So we really want to make sure that the frameworks that we have going into the next year survive January, they survive February, right? Because people come and go, different people might not be able to attend meetings, but you still want the meetings to happen. You still want it to work. So these are some of my suggestions and something that our schools do, which is that we have a running agenda in a Google Doc form. My biggest suggestion would be that you have it so the most recent meetings at the top of the agenda and then the oldest ones are at the bottom, because it's really annoying to scroll through, and we'll get to that in a minute. Why? Because on the top page, what we have at our schools is people's roles and responsibilities, right? Which is super important, and we'll get again into that in a second. So I know I'm setting the table and walking away, but we'll get to it. We'll slow play it with different rules and regulations, such as if it's not on the agenda, we don't talk about it, right? If you want to talk about it, there's certain little blurbs you have to fill out. And what's very important with this shared document is that there is spots for all invited team members to enter in different pieces of the agenda. And why that's important is that it gets into what I like to call speed bumps. And we really, and this is my opinion, I hate when our attendance meetings get sidetracked when in, March about something that happened in September, right? We have like a 5-minute background story. We only have an hour, right? You used up a 12th of the time talking about this one student and this like thing that happened in September, right? Well, now it's March. So what we really want to try to do is, while that's important, we can put all that background information in pretty much like a chart form and just say, hey, this is some context. Boom. Why are they in the second portion? What are we going to talk about, right? So context, what we want to talk about in the meeting, and then the most important speed bump of all, the action steps. And really the reason why we want to is we need to be able to talk about individual students. We need to talk about trends that are going on in the school, but we really need to make sure we use up that half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, however much time you give to try to get the best results. And so inside this chart, when we start going through, everyone is on that Google Sheet again, and they can put in the information that they want to talk about in the agenda. Do you want to talk about second grade? Do you want to talk about this individual student? Do you want to talk about ESL? Great. Put in the background information. Bam. Then we'll talk about it in the meeting. And then the most important part is under action steps, we're going to have people's names attached to it. So then that way we know when we come back to it, who's going to call this family, right? Because I don't know about you, but if I'm talking about 25 kids, I can't necessarily remember every single person who's going to call. I can't necessarily remember every single person that's going to kinvo. I don't remember every single person that we're going to do a home visit for. So when we put these little things in, when we come back to it in a week or 2 weeks, we can say, oh, great, John, how was that home visit? Oh, great, John, how was that call, right? And that makes it so much easier for us to be able to judge what happens. And critically, with this action step that we have, we want to make it as cut and dry on whether or not it works or doesn't work, right? Because we want to know what interventions are actually paying dividends. So we want to put in quantitative data in there, right? If the student's missing, the last 2 weeks, did they come in, right? Were we able to be successful with the phone call? Were we able to be successful with the home visit? And by having a single point person in that action step before we move on to the next agenda item, we can either A, go back and look at the source of all that information, and B, everyone, when they come into it, if they miss a day, they know what's up. They know exactly what everything's going to look like. And again, and this is more of like a meeting thing, and I'm going to come back to it. Make sure that you have a blurb saying if it's not on the agenda item, we're not going to dive into it, because everyone's time is valuable. And it's very important, if we're going to say we want to use data and we want to analyze it and we're going to go into it, we also don't want our meeting being held up by everyone just pulling up PowerSchool and spending like 3-4 minutes looking at data and making snap judgments on the data. So if we put it into the agenda item ahead of time, people can more easily access and look at those different data points that Stefan puts in. So then that way we don't have to worry about it in the meeting, because again, time is very valuable. It's hard enough to pull all these different groups of people out of these meetings. So we're going to value your time and say like, hey, look at this spreadsheet or look at this Google Doc when you're able to, on your own free time ahead of schedule. And just some things to consider in the winter that I think are super important are, you're going to have meetings with different stakeholders. I encourage schools to think about having not necessarily the same 4, 5, 6, 12, however many people you have in the meetings, but also to pull in people that aren't necessarily the same people that attend every single meeting, right? So as I alluded to earlier, that second grade team, that 7th grade team, maybe members of the ESL or special education staff as a whole, or maybe in a smaller portion. And by having, that top page with different roles and responsibilities, you're asking the correct person questions if you're not sure, because you don't normally attend these meetings, right? We want to make sure that if this is an admin question, they go to the administrator. They don't go just to the default attendance person, because that's just, that again, we're adding extra layers for no reason. And that's so important to have that at the top of the sheet. So that way people can quickly read it and get an understanding of what's going on. And we also encourage everyone to go back and review previous action steps, look at the previous meeting, or even the meeting prior to that as we kick off, just to say like, hey, let's touch base, let's figure out everything, because we want to get those healthy habits going now. Because again, when everyone gets sick with the flu or their child gets sick with the flu and you're out for whatever reason, you normally lead these meetings, we still want the meetings to happen. We don't want it to be, stuck on one person and that one person is out for a week or that person gets a new job or something like that. We don't want the whole thing to just fall apart like a deck of cards. So we really want to ensure that every little piece of the meeting runs smoothly. And just speaking at Norwich, there was a point in January where everyone got COVID. We had to shut down the whole school for a day because we had so many people that called out. I think it was over 150 staff members were sick. So we had to shut down for a day. And when you're getting, into the winter and so many people are getting, ill or their children are getting ill, it's not just affecting staff, it's also affecting our kids too. So we really need to make sure that these meetings are as healthy as possible. And that's something that's really important to look at in July is like, how do we make this framework work? And then the last little bit is that when we put in those action steps, we do really want to put in like a small goal in there for like how we're going to judge whether or not it worked. Because as Kari was saying, and as Sarah was saying, with like looking at those tier 3 students, right, we're obviously going to slow play it. If they didn't come for 2 weeks and they showed up for, one day for 2 weeks, that's a huge improvement. But at the same time, we also need to be able to, triage how much time we're using for each kid. And we want to ensure that every single child that we're looking at, that we're actually doing things not to check boxes, but we're checking boxes that show that there's improvement. And so if we have those little goals, just like you would see like on an IEP, great, did this work? If home visits don't work with this family, we're not going to send them on a 5th home visit. If home visits do work for this family, we are going to send them on the 5th home visit. And that's why it's so important that we kind of review those steps before and afterwards, and why we have that running agenda. So those are the big things. And so in summary, make sure you have that running agenda. Make sure you put in as many speed bumps into the meeting as possible, just to slow it down, make sure that everyone's time is being utilized appropriately, that people are putting things in that they want to talk about, including that background information, because again, we're limited on time. And that in that framework, you're not talking just about individuals, but you're also talking about whole groups of students, however you want to slice it and dice it, however Stefan puts it in there, because he presents our data in a way that really helps us to like formulate, action plans and whatnot. By having it all there makes life so much easier. And all that takes is just having a well-rounded, good-looking Google Doc. It's not like a huge amount of stuff. Everyone can put different spices on it however they want. Different people in different schools have different looking sheets that work for them. Some people use spreadsheets, some people use just like a running Word doc. That's fine. So long as it works, it works. And so last, if there's any questions, I can answer those now before I throw it over to Cindy.
John, thank you so much. One of the things that comes out in this to me is the importance of the data to the team, and the role of your PSIS coordinator, whatever you call them in your district, is your best friend, right? And so they can be so helpful with making sure you have the access to the right reports, that you can look at the data in different ways. You can sort and sift and the follow-up and just making sure that your teams are on track is key. And I want to thank you for sharing all of that. It's very important. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's so important. Like, we can say data as much as we want, but if it takes us 8 hours to find something, like, that's useless, right? Like, so it's so important to just have it easily accessible, having it so we can quickly judge it, that the numbers aren't murky and very confusing. We're all in the same book with like how we're defining certain things, right? So we try to use the state definitions as much as possible when we talk about things like chronic or truant and all that type of stuff, because we don't want confusion, because then again, time is valuable. And if we're getting off track for 5 minutes trying to figure out what you meant by chronic, right? And it's just such a simple definition that it makes it so much easier for everybody to just kind of get up to speed, especially those people that we bring in that aren't normally in our attendance meetings.
John, do you find confusion with truancy and chronic absence and the two? definition, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and which to address first, or,
So I think the biggest thing is there is confusion between the two, right? And I do try to, we do have two different MBA markers on Power School. One's a big bright red one and one's a gray one. So they do, kind of pop out. The staff that works with attendance is obviously very well acquainted with that. There is confusion though, because some people do assume that if you're truant, you're automatically chronic, or vice versa, and that obviously isn't the case. But it is a very simple definition to kind of explain, and we have a couple easy PowerPoint slides that we kind of
Okay.
show to people
Mhm.
on there. But that doesn't necessarily mean the question goes away. But Power School, being a tool is very helpful with just kind of marking up, whether or not they're truant or chronic. And I would say, like, at the end of the day, if you have the marker there, it's still an area of concern regardless, right? 'Cause that just means the child wasn't in. So at the end of the day, like, we can sit and kind of suss out, like what tier they're going to be on, but we still want them in the classroom. We don't want the red
Yeah.
or the gray marker. So it really
Right.
doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but it kind of
Mhm.
doesn't matter, because
Mhm.
we need to get them in anyways. We need to get them in the classroom. And if that marker is there, then, we have a concern that we need to get addressed.
And so just to put in the space here, that truancy, just for folks who may not be as clear on it, truancy includes only unexcused absences, whereas chronic absence includes all absences. So truancy is kind of a subset of chronic absence, but and it means that there may not have been a note or an excuse for that absence. And so it may need to be addressed in a different way, but all of it is in a way that's supportive of families and not punitive to families. Truancy has a history of being punitive, and now you're bad, and now we're going to make a referral. And that's not necessarily how we want to approach our kids and families in this day and age, given COVID and all of the things that are happening in their lives that are causing stress. So thank you, John. And do I turn it over to your colleague?
Oh,
And
we
there's
do
the
have a
last
quick,
thing that,
sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, quick question in the chat. I just wanted to bring up can you please share an example of a running attendance meeting sheet at the school level? With a school of 500 students, I'm wondering how to keep that document manageable.
so the most important thing, so most of our schools have anywhere from about 250 up to about 750 kids. And there's only a couple with like that's the smaller end. Most of our schools are around the 400 range. So it's just a simple, like, what I do is I just keep a blank template at the very bottom of the sheet. And this is just for my own documents. I just cut and paste that and put it at the top. And then you just kind of add to it as you go through, right? Or if you're using a Google Sheet, you just have a separate page with like the blank template that you just cut and copy up and over. It doesn't have to be anything too complicated. But I would say, like, the most important portion of it is just rules and responsibilities like in the meeting itself, right? And then just a simple chart of student name and or area of concern, background information, you'd fill that out afterwards, the reason why you're bringing this person up, and that's like a small little blurb that will kind of come up at the meeting, and then action steps afterwards and the person responsible. So it's not anything too complicated. You just want to ensure that you hit the speed bumps to slow down the meeting, to ensure that everyone's on the same page on what's going to be done, and that everyone knows what they have to do before they come into the meeting, and what to do during the meeting, and what to do post meeting. And
And
then
we also
just
had a comment that they like the idea of inviting different staff into the meeting. So I just want to clarify, one of the reasons why we do that is we're looking at data from different angles. So in a few of our schools, our multilingual learners have very high percentages that are disproportionate to other learners in the school. So we find it very valuable to bring in the MLL staff to those meetings, not just because they can provide us with insight, but also because often they have the best relationships with the families. So they are our go-to people to really help talk with the families, find out what the barriers are, and then be able to address those barriers. Same with our special ed students. We have in some of our more self-contained programming, we do see higher levels of absenteeism, especially during the pandemic because of medical concerns and other things. So including your school nurse or your special ed director in those meetings is very helpful because they also have direct contact and familiarity with the families, and the families are much more comfortable when someone they're familiar with is calling them versus, say, an attendance officer. So we do try, especially as Kari had just said about being post-pandemic, we really want a Disney level customer service here. We are not trying to call anybody out on anything because we want you in school. We want you here with us. And we want you to know how much we care about you being here. And that sense of belonging is a really big deal of getting people to school. So we certainly are not going out to harass people. And Cindy's about to tell you a lot about what we do as action steps after those meetings based on the information parents provide.
I'm going to take my hand down because I really want to hear what Cindy has to say. And we only have about, a little less than 15 minutes. So I could talk all day about this,
Hi, guys. I was going to talk a little bit about the barriers that parents are feeling and that the school feels. A lot of times in the meetings, we tend to think, oh, they're absent again, or it's been 5 times they've been out in 2 weeks. But what we do is we start home visiting in August, July, August, and we get out and we meet the families, we meet the students. We might bring information about the school, about attendance, about if they're going into kindergarten or preschool, we'll bring little like books or backpacks and stuff, just to kind of encourage the parents and to show them that we're there because we care. There's going to be a lot of different reasons why kids do not make it to school. It's not their fault. And really, sometimes it's not the parents' fault, right? Some of the barriers that we have seen are transportation. Transportation is a big one. And, oh, I missed the bus and I can't get them there again. So what we have done is we've gone back out. The bus company has brought a bus and we were able to go with the bus and go to the home and pick up the child and bring them to school. We've also given parents city bus passes to use to come to different events or to come to different meetings. That way it's giving them the empowerment to be able to be there in person, come to the school, have their word. Some other barriers are the parents work at night. They can't get up in the morning. We've offered alarm clocks, put the alarm clock on the other side of the room, make sure the kids' clothes are ready the night before, different strategies like that. I think the most important thing is for me being, going in as home visiting part of the whole attendance team is making the parent feel empowered and welcomed. Sometimes they don't want you to come to their home, but if you make a few phone calls and you just encourage them and give them some positive feedback, even though their child's got to be truant or chronic, I think it makes a huge difference in the attendance. I think the relationship between the school and the family is key to the academic piece. It's key to the parents piece. It's key to the students and the teachers. And I think once we get through all of that, and sometimes it's really hard to break that barrier and help these parents, but once they see that we can help you with your rent, we can help you with different resources. Your car broke down. Well, let's see what we can do because I know it's really hard for you to get them to school. So I think being there and just supporting the parent and showing them that we do care and we want them there all the time is a huge piece. I think I am huge on the family engagement piece. I think it's important that our parents feel welcome. And I think once they feel welcome, they might have had a really bad experience in school, or they might not have felt welcome at other schools. But I think if they feel that I can call Cindy or I can call Sarah or I can call Megan at school and they're going to help me, they're going to get me through this so I can make sure that he doesn't miss this, I think is huge. Because if we can empower parents and we can teach them or give them different strategies to use in many areas of their world, I think it makes a huge difference on the kiddos and on us as a school as a whole. And the parents are proud. you know, when they come to an event and they finally get to go to an event or a PTO meeting, you know, they feel so proud that they're there. And all it took was a city bus ticket or transportation from the bus company. You know, it's just going outside the box and trying to figure out how we, as professionals, can go into the home, even if you're sitting on the front porch and it's really cold, just talking to the parent. I think that is such a huge, huge thing when it comes to attendance. And the meetings I know are very important, and all the different levels and the tiers, but hitting the ground and going out and face to face with those parents, I think is huge. And sometimes, like, I might go with the kindergarten teacher because she's going to be getting in some preschoolers, and I know the preschoolers. And so we'll go talk about different things. And, you know, you might want to make sure that you call if your child's not coming to school and send in a note. Show them the different steps to make sure that they're doing it the right way, so they're not getting a phone call. Well, he's been out 4 times and I don't even have a note. You know, they didn't know they had to send the note. They've never done this before, you know, and I think that's why it's so crucial that we're getting our little ones, the preschoolers and the kindergarten kiddos and families on board. That's my family engagement. And
One of the things that Cindy didn't mention, but I want to give her credit for, is that this year our team worked really hard with Cindy's expertise to create a community resource manual for all of our families that lists all sorts of service. And it is set up as in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, because we do know that we have to meet everyone's basic human needs first. Then we can expect them to bloom and to grow, right? You can't bloom without Maslow. So we tend to do both. And Cindy was very instrumental in that, as she's been with us here in Norwich since my birthday, and knows everybody in the district. And if a family says that a barrier is, my child has no shoes, Cindy will have them shoes in less than a minute, because she knows an agency that has shoes. And that can be a barrier from time to time, something as small as a clothing item, or maybe the student has an allergy and they don't have the funds to purchase that food item this week, and they want to make sure that, you know, their child has a snack. Every family loves their children first and foremost, and they care about their children. And the world throws them a lot of rocks sometimes. And we are here as a team to help take those away so that their child can have full access to their education.
And oh, I'm sorry, Sarah. We also have the Family Resource Center, and we have availability for parents to come in and look for jobs and to sign up for a SNAP or heating assistance. I'll have different agencies come in and sit at the school, and parents can come and sign up for different, like the SNAP or the health insurance or anything that you think that they might need. Usually once a month, we'll have them come in, and the agency will sit, and parents can either make an appointment or just come in, and they'll hook them up with different resources. And like Sarah said, a lot of times we'll go to different, like, city events, like if it was the fireworks or a festival or a monthly meeting. And a lot of times you see the families at those, and they're like, oh, wow, you go to my school, you know, and the mom's like, oh, hey, you know, and you just on the street talking to people, you know, and it's just such a great feeling. One summer, one of the other family engagement coordinators, Megan and I, and an ELL teacher, we sat at all the monthly festivals down in the city, and our tent was packed. We had everybody there. The kids were making crafts. We were just doing all kinds of cool stuff. And those are the kind of things that they remember. So when you make that phone call or you want to do a home visit, they're like, oh yeah, I remember. We made the Fruit Loop necklaces, you know, and it's so important and dear to my heart is that connection with the family and the community. And if you have that, you'll have whatever you want.
And it's also super important to know too, that it can be incredibly difficult getting services. So I always use the same story, but myself and another one of our team members were trying to help out a woman who was currently a McKinney Vento, which meant she was homeless, and her time was up at a hotel. And between the three of us, we spent all day just trying to call services. And I kid you not, one of the places we went to said, "Have you ever heard of Zillow or apartments.com?" Because that's all they provided. They would literally hand you a stack of current places that are currently accepting applicants for renters, and said, "Here you go." But this was on a Friday, and she had nowhere to go for the weekend. And she did not want to go to a shelter with her children. She obviously didn't want to necessarily go back to a hotel, but it is very important to just be cognizant of the fact that it can take weeks, if not months, if not years, to get these services in place, and that just giving a phone number sometimes isn't enough. There's so many barriers from start to finish that can be an issue. My best friend, for example, is from India, and he is terrified each time his visa's up, because if there's a mistake on his visa application, not from him, but from the US government, if they make a mistake on there and it gets sent in, he gets sent back to India, and him and his wife and their child will be split up, right? And so a lot of these barriers are very, very, very consuming. They can cause a lot of anxiety, they can cause a lot of stress, and it's not a simple process. So it's just very important to just recognize that, because it's more than just giving that number, like Cindy's saying, because it just takes a really long time. I'm sure you guys probably saw the alderman in Chicago who applied for housing back in like the early 90s, late 80s, and she just got her letter like 4 weeks ago saying like, you got accepted. So it can be very, very stressful for our families. And it's just very important to know that and have that customer service and to listen to like what they're saying and how difficult some of these things can be.
I think it's really important to loop everything. So you'll see that everything we do is secular in nature, right? It just keeps going. So the data that Cindy brings back, we were able to bring to our Board of Education and our superintendent and kind of explain to them that the nexus of services in our community were very difficult to navigate, and it was having an impact on student outcomes. So our superintendent was able to contact the city manager and set up a meeting coming soon, to discuss how the city manager might be able to help us make this nexus more accessible for families in some capacity, which really got a lot of our social service agencies and some of our other providers in the area excited as well for the work, because they also agree that their services can be difficult to navigate. You don't always know if you're supposed to call United Way or UCFS or the local social services or the Norwich Youth Bureau. So that will be a big step, I think, if the city as a whole takes on this challenge as well.
And it's also really good to be out there and meet all the people in the different agencies. Introduce yourself. You're from the public schools, and I'm family engagement coordinator, and I work for the FRC, and whatever it is. And the more they see you and hear you, when you do call them, it's like, oh yeah, okay, we have coats. You come on down and get a couple bags of food. I think it's building relationships in it, like Sarah's, it's the community, the school, the family. That's what it takes. And if you're not going to go out there and put that into it on the street, you're not going to get it by a phone call.
Oh my goodness, Cindy, Sarah, John, wow, what a team. And I just have to congratulate Norwich and their team, because their chronic absence data really, in the context of where we are right now, is fantastic this year. They were below the state average in so many areas. We didn't touch on the area around multilingual and multicultural families, but that is also very important to this work. And I have seen their data in that work as well. And I just want to put that in this space as well. But congratulations and thank you so much. We're getting low on time, but we will be sharing this information. I'm going to turn it over to Christine to close us out. Thanks, Christine.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. That was fantastic information. And coming from the MTSS lens and looking at data and teaming, you guys have a lot of great things in place. So thank you so much for bringing that to the space. So our Talk Tuesday series continues. This is really exciting. We'll be using the same Zoom link for each series. I have on the screen exactly the dates and titles, and they are all from 10 to 11 a.m. is when they occur. Our next one is the Tuesday, the 26th of July. And we are going to have a guest, is Amanda Pickett from CSDE, along with another presenter as well, thinking district-based. And that's going to be, it all starts with strong Tier 1 school climate to support attendance and engagement. And then our last two are going to be in August, and that's August 9th and August 23rd. So we really hope to see you then. We will be sending out reminders just to let you know when it's coming up and remind you of the Zoom link as well. And I'm going to actually go to our next slide, because if you keep in touch, if there's any questions, information, we will be sharing also the recording. So our email addresses, phone numbers are right here. Please feel free to contact us. Bakari, is there anything else you'd like to say before we close up?
No, I think that's it. If anyone has any questions or would like to discuss further, please be sure to reach out to us. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
I know.
Ladies, I have a question. Are the slides you presented on the CT website?
The slide 2,
The slides you used for the presentation today?
they will be. We have to
They-
get them up there, but you'll
Yeah.
find them on the Talk Tuesday page, and we're going to send out a reminder, an email to everyone, so that everyone gets it.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh,
Have- Enjoy your summer, girls.
You
you as
too.
well.
See you as